Hello and welcome back to Making Home Better. This is a project that's very simple to do and perfect timing towards the beginning of the summer. It gives you a nice planter box that's easy to build and lasts for a long time. This was inspired by a video that I saw on the channel BYOT, Bring Your Own Tools, and I'll leave a link to it in the description as well. As mentioned, it's a very simple project to do and it's very strong. Unfortunately, when I was doing this project, I did not have a lot of the right tools, but it does show that you can make this happen even if you have some basic tools that is available. Let's get right into the build. I started off by taking some angle iron that I purchased at Home Depot and cutting them into equal pieces for the four corners of the planter box. Cutting the angle iron would be significantly easier if you have an angle grinder. I created a quick template to keep the spacing for the holes consistent on all corners. I use my drill to pre-drill holes so that the fence pickets can be attached to make the sides of the planter box. This will also be significantly simpler and easier if you have a drill press, which I do not. A pro tip when drilling the holes would be to offset them slightly on either side of the angle iron so that your screws do not run into each other. This is not something that I did, but certainly would make the whole process easier if you take this into account during your design. As you can see, the angle iron is left a little longer than the height of the planter box. This is so that we can insert the bottom of the angle iron into the ground, securing the planter box. So that this process is easier, I also put a 45-degree angle on the bottom of the angle iron. I have used Cedar fence pickets on previous projects and I went with the same on this. It's a cheap and simple option. You can plane or sand it to make it into a better finish if you have those tools available. Otherwise you can leave it as is, which will also work just fine. The fence pickets are cut to size on the miter saw using a stop block, as both of the sides of the planter box are the same dimension. I also put a 45-degree miter on all corners so that the corners can butt up against each other inside the angle iron. This will make more sense in a little bit. With the help of my palm router and a chamfering bit, I also put a slight chamfer on the edges of the boards so that it gives a little character to the planter box. Although I didn't capture it on video, I used a spar urethane, the same one that I used for the raised planter box build on the channel, to put a finish onto the cedar. I put a total of 3 coats of the spar urethane. I will leave a link to the spar urethane that I used, as well as all the tools, in the description below, as well as a link to the raised planter box build I mentioned earlier. To assemble the planter, I picked out the best looking boards to go on top and pre-drilled and used 1.25" exterior screws to secure the angle iron or the corner post to the cedar fence board. This is where I mentioned that offsetting the holes on the corners would be a good design decision so that the screws don't run into each other. As with any project where you're working alone, clamps come in very handy. This was certainly the case on this project as well. I also used a large framing square at many instances to ensure that everything was being assembled nice and square. Since I used almost the full length of the 8-foot fence picket, as the build came together, it looked like it needed one more support in the middle. So I added an extra board down the middle, once again putting a 45-degree point towards the bottom so that it can be pounded into the ground. The install of the planter box was fairly simple. The area where the planter box was going cleared out and leveled. With the help of a mallet, we were able to drive the metal corners and the middle braces down into the ground and level it. From there, we laid a layer of weed barrier on the bottom, followed by some river rocks to help with the drainage, and topped it off with topsoil and various soil mixes so that we can plant our vegetable garden. Building this planter box is a very simple project that anyone can tackle and only requires very minimal tools. The end result looks great and is extremely functional. This project can easily be executed over a single weekend, and the results can be enjoyed for many years to come. If you enjoyed this video, please consider subscribing and giving the video a like. There are also various other videos that you may enjoy, so I encourage you to take a look. There are also various other outdoor projects on the channel, and I will leave a link to the playlist in the description as well. I wish you best of luck with your build.